Welcome to Revenge Report. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more. Let's dive in. She's delusional, still thinks she's in the army or something. My dad said it like a joke, laughing too loud. Right there in the hospital hallway with two doctors and a nurse standing 3 feet away. I just stood there, holding a plastic bag with mom's slippers in it, my jaw tight enough to pop. She's been like this since high school, he went on, grinning at the nurse like they were old friends. Never got over that one ROTC trip. Now she pretends she's out saving the world while living off God knows what. Our unemployed daughter, folks. No one said a word. The doctor just smiled politely and looked down at his clipboard. The nurse gave a little awkward chuckle, then turned back to the patient board on the wall. My name's Jennifer. I'm 39. I live in Arlington, Virginia, but I grew up here in Reno, Nevada, home of my father's precious Wallace Auto Group. Melissa's flying back in tonight, he said, switching gears like none of that had happened. Doctor of Internal Medicine, Stanford, and Marcus is handling the legal side of mom's insurance. That's our Harvard boy. Then he looked at me. Jennifer's, well, she's still in the army. Or the reserves, or something. We let her play soldier. That hit me square in the chest. Again. Quick note, before listening, share which city or country you're watching from. I didn't say anything. I just kept looking at the nurses, wondering if any of them noticed how my hands had started to shake. I'd sent them photos over the years, promotion ceremonies, unit patches, even one of me standing on a stage with a general. Nothing ever got a real reply, just a nice costume from Dad once and silence from the rest. He always called my uniforms costumes, even when I made captain, even when I made colonel. And now, in a hospital full of strangers, he was still selling that same lie, that I was just some jobless screw-up stuck in a high school fantasy. Every time I opened my mouth to correct him, he talked louder. Every text I sent with real updates got drowned under family group chats about Marcus's law firm or Melissa's surgical rotations. I wasn't even surprised anymore, just exhausted. He clapped me on the shoulder hard, like it was all good fun. All right, kiddo, go fetch that chaplain or whoever. Mom always liked the spiritual stuff. I turned without a word and walked toward the elevator. The elevator doors closed, and I finally breathed. Not deep, just enough to stay upright. That hallway scene wasn't new. It was just louder. I'd enlisted right after high school. No college tours, no big announcements, just a recruiter's card I pulled out of my back pocket over dinner one night. Dad laughed right in my face. Sure, go crawl through mud. Let me know when you grow out of it, he'd said, barely looking up from his steak. That was the start. Basic training. Fort Jackson. I made it through without calling home once. Graduated top of my platoon, got fast-tracked for squad leader, then moved to Fort Hood. I sent him a picture of me standing in front of my first Humvee. He replied, "Looks like a used car lot." By 22, I was sergeant. By 25, I'd been through OCS Officer Candidate School, that one I actually called about. He put me on speaker while talking to a customer. "Hold on, my daughter thinks she's Patton now," he said. They both laughed. I hung up. Promotion to captain came during my second deployment. I mailed him the ceremony photo, just me and my CO, nothing flashy. He never mentioned it. When I made major, I tried again. Dumb, I know. Sent a letter, a printed invite to a leadership seminar at the Pentagon I was co-hosting. He didn't RSVP. I found it months later, unopened, shoved in a kitchen drawer under expired coupons. The last one he did open was for my colonel pinning. There I was, standing in dress blues, 2 stars behind me, my name etched on a plaque. He sent one text back. Nice costume party. I remember sitting on my couch, just staring at that message. Not angry, just gone. Something inside me turned off. It's not like he never saw me, he just never looked. I remember being 8, running through his dealership lot in Reno with a plastic helmet on and a Nerf rifle slung over my shoulder. I'd lined up my little green army men all over the showroom. He was in a full suit, showing a couple some overpriced truck, and he still stopped, crouched next to me, and said, "You keep this up, and I'm gonna have to start calling you Little General." I beamed for days. I thought he meant it. He even gave me one of those dumb plastic name tags with Jennifer Wallace, Commander-in-Chief, printed on it. I wore it until the clip broke. And then somewhere along the line, he decided the whole thing was a phase. Maybe it was because I didn't take over the dealership like Marcus, or didn't get a white coat like Melissa. Maybe he needed to believe I was playing pretend, so he didn't have to admit I'd built a life he didn't understand. So eventually, I stopped explaining. stopped sending photos, stopped correcting him at family dinners when he said I was still in the reserves or whatever. I just started showing up. Quiet, in and out. No updates, no arguments. I'd sit on the edge of the couch while he went on about trade-ins and profit margins, nodding like I wasn't coordinating logistics across 3 continents. And when Melissa talked about saving lives and Marcus talked about court wins, I smiled like I wasn't briefing foreign attachés behind a locked SCIF door twice a week. My job wasn't to convince them. Not anymore. That shift didn't happen all at once. It crept in. After every ignored letter, every dumb joke, every time he introduced me as our wild card, I finally realized he didn't want to know me. He wanted his version of me, the one who never left Reno. The one who stayed in the back room cleaning sales brochures while he ran the floor, so I let her live. In his head, the real me? I went to work. That day at the hospital just made it official. I walked straight past the nurse's station and pushed open the stairwell door. I took the stairs every time after that. I'd rather sweat through 3 flights than get trapped in another elevator with my dad. For the next 3 weeks, we rotated shifts around Mom's room. Melissa, of course, created the schedule. Color-coded and full of assumptions. Jen can take mornings, she said, highlighting my name in yellow. She's got the most availability. I didn't argue. I never do anymore. But I had to shuffle an entire team brief, 2 classified calls, and a NATO logistics update to make it happen. Marcus got evenings because he has court. Melissa floated in and out based on her hospital shifts, because she's a real doctor, after all. Me? I'm the one they leaned on. To pick up meds, make runs for food, sit with Mom during the slow hours when no one else could. She doesn't have a real job, I overheard Melissa telling a nurse one afternoon. She's in, Army reserves or whatever. She just comes when they call, I guess. They were standing 2 feet away. She said it like I wasn't even there. Half the time, I had my phone in my lap under the blanket, reading encrypted updates, monitoring 3 separate deployments. I had to approve a security reroute during a power grid failure in Poland, while Melissa argued with a nurse about organic meal options. But to them, I was just scrolling Instagram. Dad didn't help. One afternoon, I told him I had a 1500 briefing I couldn't miss. He waved me off. What briefing? Some online webinar about drills and camping? No, I said. A classified operations brief. I'm on the call. He scoffed, not even looking up from his crossword. Sure you are. Just make sure someone's here for the night shift. I clenched my jaw so hard my molars hurt. He wouldn't have spoken like that to Marcus. He damn sure wouldn't have said it to Melissa. Every day it chipped at me. The offhand jabs, the smirks, the way they passed me over in every conversation like I hadn't done more before sunrise than most people did all week. Melissa once said, I'd love to travel more, but my job's just not that flexible. Then turned to me. Lucky you. I wanted to scream. Lucky? Lucky to have to file reports before sunrise? Lucky to juggle command while pretending to be the dumb sibling who had nothing better to do than fetch coffees and sit bedside? But I stayed quiet, because if I snapped, I'd be the unstable one. If I told them the truth, who I really was, what I really did, they'd either laugh or think I was lying. Again. So I nodded, took the morning shifts, answered texts in the hallway, wrote response plans in the parking lot. I kept it together. Until one night, I came back from grabbing soup, and Dad turned to Marcus and said loud enough for me to hear, See? Always dependable when it doesn't matter. I dropped the soup right on the floor. The soup splattered everywhere, wet broth, noodles, plastic lids spinning across the tile. No one moved. I bent down, picked up the empty container, and threw it in the trash without saying a word. The silence cracked open 30 seconds later. That was unnecessary, Dad said. Voice cold, clipped. If you didn't want to be here, you could have just said so. I didn't look at him. I grabbed some paper towels and started wiping. Marcus stepped in next. Seriously, Jen, you've been on edge for days. You don't even talk. You just exist. I bit my tongue hard enough to taste metal. Melissa sighed, arms crossed. It's not a vacation for any of us, you know. That's when my phone buzzed. Hard. A priority alert. I glanced down. Sensor urgent. Secure line. I stepped into the corner, turned my back to the room, and started typing fast. The air got heavy behind me. You've got to be kidding me, Dad snapped. Are you actually texting during this conversation? I kept typing. No time for games. He barked. Put the damn phone away, Jennifer. I turned, held it up. I'm working. That was the wrong answer. Working? he laughed. Scrolling Facebook doesn't count as work. I locked the screen, shoved it in my pocket. It was a priority alert. I had to respond. A priority alert, he repeated, mock serious. What are you now, the president's bodyguard? Marcus jumped in. You're always tuned out, half here, half not. You could at least pretend to care. I've been here every single day, I shot back, while balancing my actual job. Melissa rolled her eyes. We all have jobs. We still show up. I brief the Secretary of Defense 3 times a week, I said. No emotion, just fact. I prepare segments for the PDB. I'm flying to Germany in 48 hours for a NATO readiness drill. The room went still. Dad snorted. Oh, come on. What is this? What, lunch with Elvis? Next, you'll tell us you're best friends with the Joint Chiefs. I stared at him. Just stared. Not angry, not sad, just finished. You really think I've been lying all these years? I asked. You tell tall tales, he said. Always have. That little general act was cute when you were 8, but you're pushing 40. It's embarrassing. I felt something snap. Quiet, final, that little general. I used to run around the showroom with my toy rifle like it meant something, like I meant something. I'm not embarrassed, I said, but you should be. That landed. He blinked. Marcus leaned on the wall, arms crossed. You always make things harder than they need to be. Melissa nodded. It's like you enjoy the drama. I looked around the room, my father's disappointment, Marcus's smugness, Melissa's judgment, and realized I didn't care if they believed me. I didn't need them to. Don't wait up, I said. I grabbed my bag off the chair, walked out, and didn't look back. I didn't go home that night. I caught the last flight out of Reno, landed at DCA at 0500, and went straight to the Pentagon. Full uniform, polished boots, no sleep, no coffee, just purpose. By 0615, I was past security, badge clipped, walking the corridors most people only ever see in movies. The halls were quiet but humming. People here don't waste time. They move like they know things the rest of the world doesn't. My office sat between a 2-stars and an Intel director's. The plaque outside still had that fresh brass shine, Colonel Jennifer Wallace. Inside, the stack of folders on my desk was already 2 inches thick. Syria op briefs, ISR updates, a sitrep from Ramstein. At 0730 sharp, I stood in a classified briefing room across from Secretary Austin. Real man, real room, real mission. Colonel Wallace, walk us through the Turkish corridor update, he said. Yes, sir. I clicked the first slide. We have 3 convoys delayed near Al-Hasaka. Drone coverage remains steady. Commanders on the ground report no hostiles within range, but satellite confirms movement west of Route 4. We recommend holding until midnight. He nodded once. Adjust the brief for the PDB. You've got 10 minutes. I was halfway through redlining a paragraph on arms transfers when my phone buzzed in my pocket. I ignored it. It buzzed again, then again, 5 times in a row. I glanced down just once, just to be sure it wasn't my operations lead. It wasn't. Marcus, where are you? I almost laughed out loud. The irony was so sharp I could have cut paper with it. Where was I? I was in one of the most secure rooms on Earth, prepping intelligence reports for the President of the United States, while my brother, who'd called me detached and dramatic less than 24 hours ago, sat in a hospital wondering where his useless sister had disappeared to. By noon, I was grabbing lunch with a State Department liaison in the Eisenhower Cafe. We talked arms tracking, diplomatic delays, intel handoffs to EUCOM, casual stuff. I checked my phone once during that hour. 17 missed calls. All from Dad, no texts, just voicemails, stacked back to back like dominoes. The first few sounded irritated. Pick up your phone, Jennifer. We need to talk about Mom's schedule. Then confusion. Why aren't you answering? Marcus said you just left. Then one that stopped me cold. Hey, something weird happened. Call me back when you can. I didn't play the rest. I just sat there, phone in my hand, food untouched, my mind spinning in a way I hadn't felt since my first deployment. Something had shifted, something big. I stood up, told my lunch partner I had to take a call. I stepped into an empty conference room, shut the door, and hit redial. It rang once. Jennifer? His voice sounded off. Not angry, not smug, just unsure. I'm here, I said. There was a pause, like he didn't know what to say next. Are you, he cleared his throat. Do you actually work for the government? I leaned against the table, one hand on my hip. What happened? He exhaled hard. These men came to the hospital this morning, military, in uniform. One of them asked for Colonel Wallace. I laughed, thought it was a mistake, told them you didn't really work anywhere. I closed my eyes. They showed me your photo, he said, voice lowering. Said they were following protocol. Said you missed a scheduled check-in and they needed to confirm you were safe. One of them, he stopped again. One of them saluted when he said your name. I didn't say anything. I just waited. I told them you were, I don't know, in the reserves or something. Yeah, I said flatly. You've been saying that for years. He let that hang. Then a nurse, Natalie or Nancy or something, pulled out her phone, started Googling. She found articles. One had a photo of you shaking hands with some general. Millie, I think she said? That was 3 years ago, I said. I told them you were unemployed, he said quietly. I said nothing. I told them you played soldier. Still nothing. It's all over the internet, Jen, his voice cracked. Your name, your rank. There's even a video of you giving a speech. There were flags behind you, medals on your chest. Jesus. Another pause. He was unraveling in real time. He stopped, then started again. Why didn't you ever tell me? I let out a dry laugh. I did. You just never listened. He didn't argue. A few seconds passed. Then, are you really a colonel? His voice was thin, almost scared. Yes, I said. He went silent. The line was still open. I could hear background noise. Probably the nurse's station. But from him? Nothing. I didn't fill the space. I didn't soften it. I just stood there, full uniform, ribbon still pinned from the morning, phone pressed to my ear, waiting. Finally, he whispered, I didn't know. I didn't say I believed him. I didn't say it was okay. I didn't say anything. He finally spoke again. I called your commanding officer. That caught me off guard. You what? I asked one of the guys at the hospital for a name. Figured they wouldn't give me anything, but they did. He cleared his throat. I just wanted to hear it from someone real, someone who knew you. I stayed quiet. He told me about your deployments, Afghanistan, Syria, Germany, Korea. His voice shook. Said you ran logistics for entire regions. That your people would follow you blindfolded into a war zone. My jaw locked. Said you've had 3 Bronze Stars, one with a V device. That one hit. He said you're the reason 2 different bases got full evacuation before the mortar rounds landed. Said you're up for general next year. I turned and sat slowly in one of the leather chairs, hand pressed over my mouth. I didn't say anything, he added. Just sat there listening like an idiot. Couldn't even form a question. I felt my chest get tight. He said if you get the next promotion, you'll be the highest-ranking woman from Nevada in military history. I didn't confirm it. I didn't deny it. I let him keep talking. I told him I always thought you were pretending. That one cut. I thought if I admitted you were the real thing, it meant I missed it. That you'd grown into someone important, and I was still sitting behind a desk at a damn dealership talking about rebates. His voice cracked again, then fell quiet. I didn't want to feel small, Jen. I swallowed hard. I told people you were in the reserves because I didn't know how else to explain you, what you became, and I didn't want to compete with it. This man had spent 20 years pretending I didn't matter. Now he was trying to catch up in 5 minutes. I'm sorry, he said. I've been a controlling, dismissive, arrogant son of a bitch. I was wrong. I've been wrong for a long time. I tried to speak, but nothing came out. So I didn't speak. Instead, I sat there in my Pentagon office in full uniform, ribbons gleaming under fluorescent light, and let myself cry. Not loud, not dramatic, just quiet. 2 days later, I walked into Mom's hospital room in full uniform, fresh from the ceremony at Nellis, nameplate sharp, badges straight, ribbons lined to regulation. The second I stepped through the door, everything stopped. Melissa was standing near the window, checking Mom's IV bag. Marcus was half scrolling through his phone. My dad was sitting beside the bed, but when he saw me, he stood like a shot. Nobody said a word. I took 3 steps into the room. The air changed. You could feel it. Respect doesn't need an announcement. Dad's eyes ran over my chest, not judgmental this time, not mocking, just trying to understand what he was looking at. He pointed slowly. That one. What's that? Meritorious Service Medal, I said. And that one? Bronze Star, for Iraq, twice in Afghanistan. He swallowed, then nodded. He didn't ask about the others. I think he couldn't. His eyes looked heavy, like they were carrying every smartass comment he'd ever made. I didn't know, he said, voice low. I mean, I knew after the other day, but I didn't know what it meant. What it cost? Melissa glanced over. For once, she didn't say anything. I think, he started, then stopped. I waited. He looked up at me. Not past me, not around me, not through me. Right at me. I think I get now why you didn't talk about it, he said. Why you stopped trying. I wouldn't have heard you. I was too busy being right. Marcus put his phone down. Quiet. I kept you locked in a version of you that made me feel in control. That little girl in the helmet. That's who I wanted you to stay. I said nothing. Just stood there. And now you're... He shook his head. God, Jen. You're not a kid anymore. You run things I don't even understand. He stepped toward me, slowly. Like if he moved too fast, he'd break the moment. Then, standing stiff, trying to remember the gesture, he raised his hand to his brow. It wasn't clean, it wasn't perfect, but it was a salute. From a man who hadn't believed in me in over 20 years. He held it. My throat tightened, but I kept my chin high. I didn't return it. Not in uniform, not like that. But I nodded. One sharp nod. He dropped his hand and exhaled like he'd just run a mile. I'm proud of you, he said. I don't even know how to say it right, but I am. I took one more step forward, stood at the foot of Mom's bed. My eyes burned, but I held it together. Barely. Mom stirred. Barely at first, just a twitch of her hand on the blanket. Then her eyes fluttered open. She looked around slow and groggy. Her gaze landed on me. I expected confusion, maybe fear. Instead, she smiled, a real one. Soft, but proud. My general, she whispered. That was it. 2 words. But they cracked something open inside me. I reached for her hand and gave it a gentle squeeze. I'm here, Mom, I said. She didn't say anything else, just kept smiling, then drifted back to sleep. Dad cleared his throat. She's been in and out all morning, but she always asks for you. I didn't know what to say, so I just nodded. Later that day, I caught him outside her room talking to a nurse. That's my daughter, he said. Colonel Jennifer Wallace. She runs operations for the damn Pentagon. Real brass. He stumbled through the details, mixed up timelines, called me high security something at one point, but the pride in his voice, that part was dead on. He told anyone who'd listen. At one point, I found him showing a janitor the photo from the Millie ceremony on his phone. Marcus, too, started asking questions, real ones. What exactly is the PDB? He asked me one night. The President's Daily Brief, I said. No kidding? Melissa didn't say much at first, but a few days later, she caught me in the hallway. Hey, that speech you gave, the one where you got the medal, is it online? Yeah, I said, but it's long. I'll watch it, she said. Send me the link. Something had shifted. I didn't chase it. Didn't press. They were coming around slowly. But here's the truth. I didn't earn their respect by explaining myself. I earned it by showing up, over and over. I built my career in silence while they weren't watching. And now they see it. And honestly, whether they fully understand or not, I'm okay. The little girl who lined up toy soldiers in a car showroom, dreaming of running the world, she did. I tucked the badge chain back under my blouse and stepped into the hallway.